All right, I'm going to be rambling on for a minute. So if you got something to do or someplace to be, you best be heading that way because this is going to be like one of those 10-minute long videos that I used to do back in the day that people actually used to like before everybody's attention spans with the 5 seconds for some reason, or the same length of a microwave dinner, which is like 3 minutes these days or less, and people will stop paying attention or say, "Oh, you talk too long," or "You boring," or da 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 da. And I started putting music and other garbage in the video that I just hated doing because it make me cringe. I just want people just to pay attention, but I'm just ranting for a minute. But anyway, this video is about like the different DualSense revisions. This is the reason why I have so many controllers at this point, and because I just like this controller. It just feels good in the hands for some reason. This adaptive triggers are just so cool. But I digress. We have here version 1, well, several revisions of that, and the latest one, which, as you can see, I had taken apart just a little bit. But yeah, this is version 1, the launch model. As you can see, the one line of text, the text on the back is kind of faint, but that should be coming with your PlayStation 5 if you bought it when it came out. Then people after that got this controller with their system. And unfortunately, I don't have the other one that came out that has all this information on it, but it has UKCA on it. And that'd be version 2 or V2, what people are calling it. And that one came with stronger springs, um, better thumbsticks. I guess they don't wear down as much. Different screws, different ribbon cables, but I've and the motherboard was different too. It's like BDM dash 020. So you can't exactly swap out the parts internally exactly. Some things you could, but really you shouldn't, don't, because you get confused and such as such. Um, Also, the triggers are different as far as the parts. And what I mean by that is you can't exactly, swap out the trigger parts because they're different. And this is the launch model. I just modified it to look different. So same concept as the first one. Also, like I said too, if you don't follow me on Twitter, you wouldn't know this, but this one is that knockoff DualSense I've been talking about for a while, and it's based off the version 1 controller. I don't know if they made a revision at some point, which would be funny because it's a knockoff controller, so maybe they're trying to keep up with Sony too. But regardless, the shells, I I guess you could in theory swap parts, but you have to modify like the parts to do that, like remove clips and stuff like that. But I don't know if you really want to do that. It's kind of doing too much for a knockoff controller, but I digress. And lastly, we have the newest revision, which is BDM 030, which um, if anybody's curious, the new DualSense Edge, it has its own motherboard that's unique to that controller, so you cannot swap that out with any of the DualSenses that you see here, because it's unique to that controller. It's more like a module setup as far as like the internal parts. It's made so that you can easily replace parts of it easily versus the consumer, I guess, casual controller. It's not as module, but it is a little bit easier to repair, as far as like taking parts out from it. So that's a good thing. They improved on that. Um, Unfortunately, some of the same issues they had with the other controllers is with this one too. It still has stick drift. You still break the triggers. You still same battery life. Um, you still have the same rumble. You still can get sticky buttons. All those things that happened in the previous generation of controllers, you can still get in the new one. Um, it's unfortunate, but I'm pretty sure someone at some point is watching all these videos and they're like, yeah, we're working on it with some type of weird solution. Or they're going to make a controller where you can't even open it up in the first place. The DualSense Edge, it's borderline um, unuser friendly as far as opening it up, but as far if you're careful and take your time, you can repair it yourself. I wouldn't recommend doing that though, because the DualSense Edge is just it's cool as far as the engineering piece goes, like all the different mechanics that they have done. But man, taking it apart and putting it back together, you have to be very careful. There's a lot of little parts that you might miss, and a lot of metal pieces and plastic mixed in. So if you break one thing, oh, you're gonna have a fun time repairing that. Compared to this, this one's a lot easier to fix. But yeah, all the problems that from the previous controllers still plague the new version. As far as I can tell, since this controller is fairly new, I don't know, like the thumbsticks feel, I don't know what's the term, harder. That sounds weird to describe them, but like they feel thicker or just, I don't know, like a different material. Maybe it's the same as that material, but I don't know. Maybe because it's a newer controller versus my other ones that isn't the thumbsticks don't feel as soft. And I think that's something that people have noted that like after a while these thumbsticks become soft versus very grippy, like when they're brand new, that the grip wears down. And some people enjoy that. That's softer now. It's better to play with, but I don't know. I enjoy having the grip still on there. Um, but yeah, they have new screws. Has a new shell that's unique to this controller. Mhm. New triggers. But yeah, besides that, it's exactly the same, And the internal parts are different, but from the outside point of view, you would never tell a difference really, unless you flipped it on behind and you started taking it apart one piece at another. You wouldn't know the difference. As far as the box, it's like the what it looks like on the outside in the box. I don't have a box. I bought this just like as is, so I don't have a box to compare it to. But I've been told that the box is slightly different now too, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, with so many old stock controllers been being sold in retail, when you ask for a new controller, you would have to really sit there and look at the box for a good minute to know what's different. And you would have to know for a fact what the old box looks like versus the new one to tell which one is the good one. Or you have to open it up, which would consider on retail that's a used item now, or open box item. It's no longer new. You open it up, pull it out of the packaging and all that other stuff, and open it up and look at the back and see if it's a new one. That's the only way you can possibly tell, really, at this point, to know absolutely sure you got a new controller. Um, as far as the scuff, aim, and all the rest of them controllers, they're using the base controller, right? So it will get stick drift just like the others. It will have sticky buttons just like the others. All the problems that you get with a regular DualSense, but now you paid 200 for. Yeah, you're gonna get all the same issues because they use the same exact controller. And some people was like, oh, my scuff controller, it's my scuff controller is quieter and it just feels better than my regular DualSense. I don't know how, because they use the same exact controller parts. Maybe they just cleaned it really good. They put the parts together very tightly, but just for the most parts, it's the same exact controller. Besides, they add mod chips to them and special painted shells, but for the most part, they're all the same thing. No, it doesn't mean they're not good. They're good controllers. They're fun to use, but unfortunately, they're just the same exact thing. So do with that information as you will. Hopefully, no one hates me and sends me a controller to prove me wrong. Wink, wink. I doubt that will actually happen, but one could wish, though. But yeah, they're pretty much all the same because they use the base controller. The only thing they add is extra mechanical parts, from manufacturers like Extreme Rate and the such, to add clickiness and soft touch buttons and all this extra crap to this controller.